What's going on, guys? Something I love doing whenever I start recording this, after I've gathered all the information, after I've seen what I've seen, after I've reviewed everything, it's just kind of that nerdy moment of satisfaction that I've completed something, that I've worked hard for it. This week was no different, and this week actually really was a culmination of really a lot of good luck and a lot of interesting storylines. What's up, guys? It's James, not Freebie, and we're here again with week 3 of college football reviews. And as I said in, looking forward, I assumed that this was going to be a very good week of football, and I wasn't really disappointed. Even starting as early as Thursday, our point differential for home versus away was extremely low. The first game out on Thursday was North Carolina State Wake Forest, where North Carolina State came out in fashion 34-24. And of course, I'll go over in detail with stats and all that here in just a minute. But if we look at our total scores from home and away for week 3, from Thursday to Friday, it was 93 points for home, 106 for away, which means that it was a negative 13 differential, which means the away side scored 13 more points. And then on Saturday, it was 272 to 291, which was a negative 19, which totaled negative 32 for the first time, which made the average a negative 2.28 over all the games. That means over all the games combined, if you add up all their scores and average them out between the 14 that I watched, if one of them weren't, if it were just like playing up, probably point spread, they would probably put it at 2.5. Probably put it at 2 because it's 2.25, and it's technically not. I mean, yeah, it was 2.258, so technically it would probably be 2.5. But regardless, it was an extremely good one. Being negative is extremely good. Being negative, it means that you had a lot of, being close to zero means you had a lot of total, or your total slate was competitive. All your scores equaled out to be competitive. That doesn't mean individually that they were competitive, but I ain't gonna lie, for this purpose, it was. So we're gonna get into our slate. Thursday started off pretty well with a North Carolina third or second tier rivalry. Second, maybe third tier, I don't know. If you want to add Charlotte in there, I guess. Wake Forest hosted North Carolina State and lost by 10, 34-24. By the end of it, it felt so much like every single time when the Chargers first moved to LA, and it was 16 away games, except for it was just in North Carolina, and you could definitely tell that North Carolina, the Wolfpack really came out and showed the Demon Deacons really who was the bigger team. You saw the little bit of talent discrepancy, but it really was North Carolina State, showing off a little bit. CJ Bailey, 23 for 32, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and my player of the game, Hollywood Smothers. Now, every single time I looked at this man touch the ball, 24 carries, 164 yards. This man was becoming untouchable. He didn't want the touchdowns. No, he just wanted the yards and souls. I know. Even me looking at this now, I am babyface. I know I had to notice that now. But as far as the receivers go, Noah Rogers, 52 yards. Keenan Jackson, 8 targets, 4 receptions, 46 yards, and a touchdown. And Justin July, or Jolie, I think it's July, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 22 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Wake Forest, Robbie Ashford was a quarterback, and he went 21 to 35, 252, and 2 interceptions. Obviously, not a great game. You really want to not be doing all of that. Behind, Desmond Claiborne, 12 carries, 31 yards, and a touchdown. And Ashford also had 10 carries, 15 yards, and a touchdown as well. Barnes, 3 receptions, 76 yards. Sterling Burkhalter, 3 receptions, 43 yards, and of course there's no touchdown, so me going into the rest of it would be useless. Wake Forest, unfortunately, even inside the ACC, looks weak. You could definitely tell the level of talent that they could potentially get there is lower than North Carolina State. And I'm not surprised that that happened the way it did. I just thought it was very entertaining, like I said, by the end of the game, where it just felt like Wake Forest was no longer at home. The defense that they were cheering for was not the Demon Deacon defense. It was a Wolfpack defense. All right, we will roll into Friday with our next game. I want to put it out here. The Colorado losing 20-36. I'm going to have to assume, given that the Georgia Tech Week 1 loss really did it in and really set this season up to be kind of an interesting one. This is one of those ones where we went in with the storyline that Caden Salter was no longer going to be starting at quarterback, the transfer from Liberty, who was very good at Liberty against Liberty's opponents and struggled to adapt and to really find a rhythm, which has been the very biggest theme of the offense of Colorado. The defense has decided to not really show up consistently. So Ryan Staub for Colorado gets a start. 19 for 35, 204 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions, I believe that is, with 3 sacks. Simeon Price rushing 5 times for 51 yards and a touchdown. Staub 12 times for 36 yards. And Zach Atkins hits the glorious 1-1-1. One carry, 1 yard, 1 touchdown. Receiving, Amarian Miller, 3 receptions, 54 yards. Joseph Williams, 3 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. And that's about it. Draylon Miller had 23 yards, and Michael Welch also had 23 yards. On the opposite side, Connor Wegman, 50 for 24, 222 yards. Really didn't even have to do anything through the air. Looked pretty comfortable for the most part. Honestly, for who they were facing and the purposes of what they were trying to accomplish tonight or Friday night, it was more than enough. We look at the rushing. Dean Connors, 22 carries, 89 yards, and a touchdown. And Wegman, 17 carries, 83 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Stacy Sneed was also in there for 9 carries, totaling for 100 or 35 yards. Receptions, where it gets a little bit more interesting. Stephon Johnson, 5 receptions, 117 yards. Amare Thomas, 3 receptions, 50 yards. And Tanner Koziel, 4 receptions, 33 yards. We continue to move through Friday to the Arizona and Kansas State affair. Kansas State, after their opening week in Dublin, have continued to free fall. Arizona coming off the back of a thumping of Hawaii, which thank God I didn't watch, because that would have been just as brutal as some of these matchups we'll get into later. This one, I guess I wasn't surprised with how much of a tune-up Arizona had last week. Kansas State's just been really reeling, just kind of like Florida State after coming back from Dublin a couple years ago. It's just coming unraveled, and it's kind of surprising because as the way Kansas State plays a lot of the time, tough, physical, pound the ball, or pound the rock, as they say, short passes to the tight ends, to quick, readable options. It just didn't seem to be coming together. A matter of fact, another look at this paper. Yeah, as you can see, not a lot on that Kansas State side. But Avery Johnson, 88 yards, 13 for 29, and a rushing touchdown. So if you want to add that. Jace Brown, one blow by for 75 yards and a touchdown. Antonio Martin, 17 yards. JB Price, 16 yards. And Dylan Edwards, 13 yards. Jace Brown was the only receiver that meant anything, with 6 receptions for 68 yards. I decided to keep the rest of them out because the yardage was insignificant to what we were trying to accomplish here, which is give you, stats that meant something. As far as Arizona, Noah Fafita, 16 for 33, 178 yards. On the rushing side, Ismail Mahdi, I feel so bad already. 22 for 189 yards, and Noah Fafita, 12 carries, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chris Hunter, 3 receptions, 37 yards. Maddie, 22 carries, 32 yards, and Javen Watley, 5 receptions for 31 yards. It was just kind of one of those games where Arizona showed up, produced, and let Kansas State make the mistakes and really get in their own way. That's probably going to be the key to beating Kansas State. They've really fallen off, and they're really struggling. They've really got their tires spinning. There really isn't a whole lot going on for them overall. And our final Friday showdown, a surprise. You know how last week or the week before last when I covered New Mexico at Michigan, this is the first time where I get to sit here and start thinking, yeah, I'm kind of glad I get to watch some of this happen, as surprises lurk around every corner. This is another one. UCLA hosted New Mexico and lost by 25. The one thing that brought us to the negative in the point differential, if this game would never have happened, or if it would have gone to status quo, if it would have been 35-10 the other way, which is what it realistically should have been, this game was a mess. UCLA rolled in here and really laid an egg. They let New Mexico do whatever they wanted to, and I do not know why Nico is still starting. He is a terrible quarterback, not as bad as Lagway that was pretty much since the season started, or DJ Ukulele, or whatever his name was, Ukulele. Nico Amalivia, as I'm going to just call him, 22 for 34, 217, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Anthony Woods, 10 carries, 64 yards, and Nico, 6 carries, 33 yards. Receptions, Mickey Mathers, 3 receptions, 67 yards. Quasi Gilmer, 5 receptions, 56 yards. Anthony Woods, 5 receptions, 28 yards. And Titus Mackie Altiamala, 2 receptions, 23 yards, and a touchdown. Now, you might be wondering, well, those don't sound too bad. It looks like they could wrap up a good 21-20 victory, pulling one out the backside, as I say. No. Jack Lane, 12 for 16, 152 yards, and 2 tutties. Efficient, didn't have to do much. Just played the game as it came to him. Damon Blankenson, 15 carries, 154 yards, and a touchdown. DJ McKinney, 12 carries, 89 yards, a touchdown. Scott Humphrey, 6 carries, 48 yards, a touchdown. Damon Blankenson, again, through the air, 3 receptions, 49 yards, a touchdown. Dorian Thomas, 3 receptions, 41 yards. McKinney again, 1 reception, 20 yards. And Simon Mappa had 1 reception for 8 yards and a touchdown. New Mexico looked like a top-tier team. Looked like a ACC team steamrolling a flailing UCLA, which fired their head coach after going 5-10 after head coach, or after Chip Kelly left to go be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. And finally, after starting however terribly it has been for UCLA, has gotten fired. And am I proud? I wouldn't be proud of that. As a UCLA fan, I probably would be more concerned about the next handful of years, but as of right now, it's going to be a long season with Nico at the helm. I don't know whether he's going to pull you out of where he got, but I hope the Bugatti that he demanded and maybe got, I hope after you get done, you could sell it for a portion of it and maybe buy a low-class Mercedes so you could afford the bill of upkeeping it, because you ain't going to be doing this for a whole long time, homie, because that ain't no NFL-level quarterback play we saw. On the other side, yeah, he can be a backup for me. I'll make him my backup. Jack Lane my backup everywhere in the NFL. I'll catch up with you here in just a minute as we get into our Saturday slate.